That's a Black & Decker electric mower from about 1997, and it hit this big piece of steel here for a tractor or something that was buried underneath the ground over here. I was cutting this field down 2 weeks ago, and I kind of use it as like a bush hog to really tears the hell out of the mower, but been doing this for years. Anyways, I wanted to show what parts can be replaced and what typically happens. I'll try to get the camera here. This is a giant piece of stuff from some type of hitch. It's got a sharp end on it. The hub on here on an electric mower, I just hit this one so hard that the hub shattered. I was using this for another month or two, but the blade isn't very stable. So what this does is, this is a new part that goes on like this. Gives it some stability. And then the fan piece goes on next. These are about between 10 to 12 bucks. When you cut a bunch of stuff really harsh, what happens is you tear up the fins on this, and then you don't get very much cooling through the fan here. So if you're in a cool area, you can kind of let this, I usually let this almost get torn up, but it's kind of dangerous. This is the new fan assembly. Now I would put this blade on here, but this is actually warped. I hit it so hard that I can't straighten it out right in here. It's not flat, so it doesn't want to clamp very well. I've got a new one of these on order, but it didn't come in on time. This is an old one I had from another mower, and the reason I'm keeping this one is to show how the blade goes on. Some of the blades like this will say grass side up. On some of the older ones they have bumps, but that goes on here like this. And there's a key on here that's going to go into this feature, so the armature grabs that. Then there's a little plastic hokey piece like this. It's got some ribs on it. That's going to go on here. It can go on, I think, a couple different ways, but it's got some added features here that tend to grab the blade. So those are turned down. This is a backing plate that's metal, giant washer that goes through, and you line this up so it grabs the flats of the edge of the shaft. Then there's a nut that goes on. That uses a 3/4 inch. Now when you try to tighten all this, it's kind of a goofy mess. So what I've learned, you can either take a pair of channel locks and grab this nut. If you try to grab this, is one way to do it, but I prefer to go through, and I've got a giant Harbor Freight wrench. And what's weird about this wrench, this is the 15 inch, is some of them will work, some won't, because I had to kind of fish through the box of them to get one that'll actually grab this. There's a couple of these that are slightly 1/8 of an inch shorter, but I go ahead and grab this like so, and take the wrench and just tighten the sucker up. That way all the torque is going through. Man, I don't know if it's really tightening well. Let's see if that's actually doing anything. Yeah, it's tightening up. Anyways, when you're cutting really stuff you're not supposed to cut with a mower like this, I've been doing this for 20 years, you tend over here to send shrapnel through the case. I leave the chute off, which is really bad, so I've got a pair of safety glasses on and I kind of step behind. I usually plop a chute on there, but this thing's actually had, it tears the hell out of the mower after a while. And I set the wheels really high. And if you hit something, you shouldn't try to get grinded in too far, because you'll hit the fan. The fan gets clogged up, then you don't have any airflow. But I've got about 3 or 4 of these mowers like this. And this one here, this set of property is to use to kind of tear up stuff. Now when I go 100 feet away, this mower draws about 12.5 amps. I use a 100-foot cord. If I'm going to go 200 feet away, if it's not too thick, it'll work. If I'm going to go 300 feet with 12 gauge wire, I've got a variac where I bump the voltage up to about 130 volts. So I've got full poop at the motor. The way these are cooled is that this goes around pulling airflow. So if you don't have enough voltage, what happens is it's not only the torque drops on the motor, you lose airflow. And then when you do that, you tend to burn the motor up. So most time people have problems with these mowers is because they use too wimpy of a cord. So you can spend as much as 3 cords as the price of the mower. I've actually cut 400 feet away and put a variac and poop the voltage up so it's about 135 volts, which means at full load it's around 120 at the motor. But anyways, that's the Black & Decker motor. This is a very common. They make these in 18 and 19 inch. There are some of these Black & Decker mowers like this that have only 6 amp, kind of a wimpy motor, but the better ones are all around about 8 to 10 amps. Excuse me, they're about 12 to 13. That's the ones I prefer. But I've probably replaced these fans about every 2 to 3 years, and then the blades, I end up hammering them out. I sharpen them here with a grinder so it cuts really well. And after a while, here's one that's from, if you can believe it, this is from about 10 years ago. And I've ground that thing so far down. This was actually for a 19-inch mower too. You can see how much I've ground the heck out of that thing. So this is one I just use around in case this one bends and I don't have a spare. I keep one of these around. It's all rusted. All these parts are available off the internet. I don't sell them, but they kind of vary all over the place. These things, after a while, kind of get a wear on it, and it'll tend to spin and not grab. So I replace these every now and then. The fan's probably the most critical thing. If this is not clamped enough, it's not going to grab. And if you're cutting something big and it gets stuck in here, it'll get in here and tear the blades up. So you better to pull a mower out. This is basically kind of abusing motor, but this thing I hit before, I have no idea what the heck it is. This is about 1/2 inch thick. It's got a really weird curved blade on it. Maybe some type of farm tool. But I ran into this 2 weeks ago and tore the hell out of the blade. Actually, I bent the blade. Not here. That's very common, but I bent it at the hub. And then there's no amount of clamping really want to work. But that's the Black & Decker electric mower. Here we are in the country.